The Blues lose 4-1 last night to the New Jersey Devils, who were in town, a team that I believe is a serious contender for the Stanley Cup this year. We're going to break that all down, the good and the bad from this game. But before we get into everything, make sure to go like and subscribe if you're listening or watching on YouTube. Follow and rate the podcast if you are on Spotify or Amazon Music. And, of course, go follow us on all social media, especially on Instagram and TikTok for daily sports videos, St. Louis sports videos and content over there. And we're covering a whole new area of sports in St. Louis coming up here these next few days, the high school basketball scene. So that's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure to go follow over there. As I said, though, a 4-1 loss to the New Jersey Devils, a team that I believe is right up there in the top three with contenders to win it all this year. They are right now second in the National Hockey League overall in record with, I believe, 45 points on the season. This game was a very physical matchup. We went down early. It was 1-0 after 1. We couldn't really bounce back. Then it was 2-0 after 2. Couldn't bounce back. Then it was 3-0 halfway through the third. And then Jordan Kyrou with his 14th goal of the season, his 5th straight game with a goal. Really good to see Kyrou playing well. Falk with an assist on that one, and Schenn as well. And then at the very end, Jesper Bratt with a empty net goal to make it 4-1. And the Devils come in and get a tough physical win on the road versus our St. Louis Blues. There's a couple main takeaways I take from this game. It is now our 4th straight game being outshot. We were outshot in this one 27-20, and 5 straight games now that we have under 25 shots. So we have to find a way to generate more shots on net. And it kind of goes with another takeaway I'm taking from this game is outside of Robert Thomas, who didn't have a point tonight, breaks his December point streak that we talked about a couple episodes ago in that reaction podcast. Outside of Robert Thomas, where is the playmaking going to come from? Because right now Jordan Kyrou's scoring at a very good clip, but that's one guy. And so if who's going to be distributing the puck to create opportunities, and without Robert Thomas, without putting all the pressure on him to do everything for us, he's not out there every single shift, obviously. So I just don't know. And that's where I think is going to hurt us down the line. Earlier in the season, you saw really good stretches from like Philip Broberg, who was creating offensive opportunities. Dylan Holloway's putting the puck in the back of the net. Jake Neighbors is scoring. Obviously, Kyrou, as I mentioned. But who's going to create those opportunities? And without Robert Thomas, I look at our centers and wingers, and Buchnevich can be that guy. Schenn is no longer really that guy. Defensively, Broberg has not been the same, but I don't since his injury, but I don't expect him to just come right back and be phenomenal right off the get-go. Kind of like Robert Thomas. I expect a week or two to get his legs under him a little bit. So I think Broberg can be that offensive defenseman for you eventually here. And Justin Falk, as we mentioned in that Monday episode, not a very good year whatsoever from Justin Falk, especially offensively. So I don't know. I think that might be the biggest hurdle that we have to try to get over is like, how do we create goals when Robert Thomas is not creating them? And I think that was part of the reasons why we lost this one. Another takeaway I had was not enough fight back in this one. Monty, after the game, said we did not get the crowd involved, and that's very rare from us that we didn't fight back. We have been a team that's been scrappy all year long. Even when we go down 2 or 3-0, we make it a really interesting game at some point. Maybe not always come back, maybe not always make it within one goal, but we get it to where it's putting some pressure on the opponent. We did not have that in this one. As I mentioned, 1-0 after 1, 2-0 after 2, 3-0 halfway through the third. Kyrou, a nice goal, and then had a little momentum but couldn't go any further than that. Another takeaway, and my last takeaway here, and I kind of touched on it, where will all the offense be generated when it's not Robert Thomas? As I mentioned, no Robert Thomas point in this one. He was, I believe, a +1 on the ice, but he didn't get a point. It ends his December point streak. He had a point in every game so far this month before this one, and I'm not super discouraged by this loss. This is a really good Devils team. I mean, way better than us. Top 3 in all the league right now when it comes to the standings. So a team that's right up there with the best of the best. And so A lot of star power on that side, a lot of guys that can create offense on different lines for them. And for us, it's like if Robert Thomas is not creating and getting an assist or two a game, a couple goals sprinkled in there, like how are we going to create all these opportunities? So going to be really interesting. Kind of on a side note, one thing that I really didn't talk about, I believe, a whole lot on that Monday episode is the rumors around Brandon Saad. I think I maybe touched on it a little bit, but another night where I think after this game, looking at it, I could definitely see him on his way out. He's been a guy that you expected more production out of him. He's not going to be a guy that lights up the points, the point column for you, but he will get you 18 to 24 goals, and he only has 4 right now through about 30 games this season. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on being moved out of here. But yeah, overall, not a whole lot of discouragement that I have after this game. The one game recently I really would have liked to have is that Sharks matchup a few games ago. We lost, I believe it was 4-3, coming off a really good road trip in Canada, and we just kind of laid an egg that night. So it's not going to get easier the rest of this week, especially from here. We obviously face the Devils in this one, a tough 4-1 loss, but we go get a day off on Wednesday here, and then we're in Florida for a Florida road trip. We have Tampa Bay at Tampa Bay, 6:00 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, and then the very next night at 6 p.m. Central Time at the Florida Panthers. So two teams that have won Stanley Cups these last few years, and two teams that are still really good now. Maybe the Lightning aren't as dominant as they once were in years past, but they're still a really, really good hockey team. And this Florida Panthers team has also not played exactly the same level that they played last year when they won the Stanley Cup, but this is a team that can still absolutely light it up on any given night. Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk, they have firepower, and so does Tampa Bay. Jake Gensel has I believe it was 40 points or something like that already this year. So I'm going to give a whole breakdown of that for the Blues Reaction Show on Friday morning. But I will see you guys before then, because I will see you all hopefully for the Billiken Reaction Show as they play Wofford tonight. A huge game to kind of ride the ship a little bit and get back on track. It has been a really rough non-conference part of the season for the Billikens. It has been a stretch where 10 games into the season, I was expecting more of a 8-2, maybe even 9-1 at this point, and we are 6-4 and are really struggling on a bunch of different areas on the floor, especially on the defensive side. And you have Larry Hughes who is no longer part of the program now. So I don't know what's all happening in-house there, but this is a huge chance to get back right, because we have Grand Canyon on Sunday, and that's a team that's definitely a March Madness team later this season. So March Madness contender, I guess, to be in March Madness. I assume they would be, but so yeah, big game tonight for the SLU Billikens. So make sure to tune in with us tomorrow morning for the Billiken Reaction Show, and I will see you guys for that one, but also our Friday episode. And keep an eye over there on Instagram and TikTok for some St. Louis high school basketball content, as we are going to start breaking down a couple games of the week and recapping those as well in a reaction show. So, of course, like and subscribe if you are on YouTube. Follow and rate the podcast if you are on Spotify. One more plug I have is, of course, go check out the STL Sports Central podcast. I hop over there with those guys twice a week. We cover everything Cardinals and Cardinals only, but a lot of off-season discussions over there. So make sure to go check that out as well. Give him a little plug. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Come tune in to a Billiken Reaction Show for the Billikens versus Wofford on tonight, Wednesday evening.